Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 8th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined by my co-host here, Cole Shelton. We've got a big show for you guys today. We'll be previewing this weekend's UFC on ESPN Plus 35, Watterson versus Hill card. We'll be recapping the Overeem versus Sakai card, previewing Contender series, and talking about Nick Diaz's return, as well as some other news and fight announcements. I will not be doing Bellator today with Cole. I'll do that tomorrow by myself. I'll do that tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's actually my birthday this weekend, so I'm going away for a few days. So I'll do that tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I'll be previewing both Bellator cards. There's actually two of them this weekend, Cole. So we'll start with UFC, but I want to get to these comments first, Cole. Got a couple guys in the chat already. Turn up MMA. What's up, gents? Haven't meeting as usual at this time, but be listening. That's good, man. Don't pay attention to those meetings, man. Pay attention to us. Kenshiro, Adam and Cole, you late sons. Yes, 30 seconds late. No, I'm kidding. And he says they're never late. We're always here at 10 a.m., man. 10 a.m. every Tuesday, guys. Preview the upcoming UFC card and recap the last one. So, Cole, how's it going? First off, while I set up everything?
Yeah, it's going well. The week was good. Went out golfing like 3-4 times this week, so that's always good. Go out that much. I go out golfing a lot, and I don't know, just because this summer I've been out way more than usual, just because what else can you really do?
Oh, really nice, man. Like, I guess you have a handicap, obviously.
Yeah, I used to be really good. Like when I was in elementary school, like grade 5 to 7, I do like tournaments across Ontario. It was like for Canada junior golf, and then it was just literally every weekend. So I got sick of it, and then throughout high school, I quit because I was literally golfing in these tournaments. Like it would be like Friday to Sunday every single weekend. So then I just got tired. But past couple of years, I've been starting to go back up. But anytime I go out there, it's always good.
That's good, man. Like I told you, you got to get back into the kickboxing thing like I was telling you about, Cole, a while ago. Now that hopefully this COVID thing is coming, I wouldn't say it's over, but, it definitely, you can go back to the gym now. So I told you to do that, Cole. I want you to
me and my friend are talking about signing up for boxing lessons. So
good. I want to see you do that, man. But yeah, for myself, I golfed a few times this summer too. I love golf. I'm not great at it. I'm okay at it. But my bowling league starts tonight, Cole. We're back at bowling, man. So I'm excited about that. Marcus Williams tuned in and locked in. Glad to have you here, Marcus, for the ride, man. We'll talk about your boy Jeff Neal maybe a little bit later as well. I mean, it's crazy, right? We'll talk about that situation with Kansas a little bit later on too. Okay, Cole, let's start with last weekend's card. We'll go through it kind of quick. I mean, there's only 7 fights. Shortest UFC card as far as total bouts goes since 2005, which is insane. 3 fights fell off at the last second, or 2 fights fell off, I guess, the last second. The Carol Rosa fight fell off, I think, Thursday. She got sick from the weight cut. But 2 guys got tested positive on Sunday. I'm sitting there, or Saturday, I should say. I'm sitting there on my computer waiting for the card to start. I messaged Cole. I'm like, dude, check this out. Thiago Moises test positive, and Marcus Rogério de Lima tested positive. And I'm thinking to myself, how are they still going on with this card? 2 guys tested positive. Kevin Natividad also tested positive. He was pulled from the card. So 3 guys this week tested positive, Cole. It's crazy, right? You look at a sport like the NHL, way more players, way more people involved. No positive tests in over a month. NBA, same thing. Football, I think, has been minimal testing. MLB does have occasional testing positives, but it's crazy, man. I love UFC. I know that they obviously don't have a bubble right now, but ever since they got back to Vegas, Cole, it's at least 1 or 2 fights, someone's falling off due to COVID-19. Yeah. It's crazy, man. So I think the Fight Island thing is going to be good for them when they go back. But, we'll see what happens there. They're supposed to go back for 5 weeks, but me and Cole both think they're going to go back in December for another 5-week stint. So let's talk about the fights that did happen, Cole. Start with the main event. Overeem defeats Sakai, 5th round TKO. Great performance by Overeem. First couple of rounds were definitely competitive. First 3 rounds, I mean, according to the judges, Sakai would have won a split decision had it ended in 3 rounds, but it was a 5-round fight. And that championship experience, Cole, and that 5-round experience really paid dividends here for Overeem. I loved Overeem in this fight. I know you did too. I thought the line was really generous. It looked like minus 160, but to me, that was still a generous line. When we broke down the fight early in the week, Cole, I think he was minus 130. And I'm thinking, I even asked you, Cole, I'm like, everyone I know that bets on fights is betting on Overeem. Why is Sakai such a small underdog here? It's weird. Someone was betting on Sakai. I guess the Brazilians, I have no idea. Someone was laying money on Sakai to make the line close. To me, this fight wasn't super competitive outside the first couple rounds. Overeem looked amazing. Just like we talked about, Cole, the wrestling and the ground and pound, man. He looked amazing. Another win for him. 4 of his last 5 fights wins via TKO. What's next for Alistair Overeem?
Yeah, he looked good. I didn't really understand it either. It's how I saw the fight playing out. Sakai coming out. Overeem's experience. If he does, I expect him to lose the first 2 rounds and just start taking over once Augusto Sakai gasses, and that's exactly what happened. But Overeem, I think you can do a couple things. I think you can do the Rosenstruck rematch. I know I've talked to Rosenstruck a lot of times, and he has no interest in that, but I don't know if he'd accept it. Or I think if Volkov beats Walt Harris, I think that's a fresh matchup for Overeem. I think it makes sense. Just another striker. Overeem can have some success wrestling. Volkov's a big name. If he can get past Volkov, that does him wonders again. It's kind of, he's in a weird spot because I know he's in the top 5, but the rest of the top 5's kind of matched up. Like you have Stipe and Gane, and you're thinking you have Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades. So he's kind of on the outside, like maybe Rosenstruck. You're not going to fight a JDS again just because he's on a big lose streak. So I think it's going to be the Rosenstruck rematch or like a Volkov if he beats Walt Harris. But if Walt Harris wins in October, then it's just kind of only Rosenstruck's really there.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Rosenstruck, to me, that fight doesn't make sense. I know he said he's not super interested. In his opinion, he schooled Rosenstruck the first fight. I can't really disagree with that call. I mean, he was on his way to winning a 50-45 decision or 49-46 before that big punch. He thinks that Dan Murray got to stop the fight too soon. I mean, a lot of fights, guy gets dropped and other guy has to rain down ground and pound. That was kind of a quick stoppage, but he did get his lip ripped open. We saw the replay. I can't see why the ref stopped it. So to me, I mean, you could do that rematch. You could wait for the winner, or I guess Lewis, if he wins, he's not going to fight Blades, obviously, again, or the fact he's his teammate. Jon Jones is the other guy. I think that's a realistic fight call, honestly. I think that'd be a great introduction for Jon Jones to heavyweight. Overeem's a legend. He's a big heavyweight. He's a guy who used to fight light heavyweight. He's a legend, man. Cole, he's been fighting since 97. Cole, his fight against Chuck Liddell was in 2003. 17 years later, he's still at the top of the sport. What he's done is incredible. So to me, Overeem is an absolute legend. Obviously, he's had some drug testing issues in the past. It seems like he's a clean athlete now. I mean, it's incredible what he's still doing at age 40. So I have a lot of respect for Alistair Overeem, and I love what he's doing. I'm going to take a couple of comments here, and we'll go through the rest of the card quickly. Kenshiro says he's a Muay Thai and kickboxing trainer. He's going to hook you up, Cole. So whenever you go to New York, Cole, you got to go hook up Kenshiro. He says he also faded Reem. Why would you fade Reem against Sakai, man? Come on, Reem is good.
I don't think Sakai's good either.
He's okay, Cole. He's like, he could beat a lot of heavyweights.
Honestly, I might pick him against every ranked heavyweight.
You think so?
He didn't beat Arlovsky. And if you don't beat Arlovsky, if you look at MMA decisions, every single media member scored it for Arlovsky and one had it a draw. No one had it for Sakai.
I think we were part of that, right? Like when we were sure. Yeah. Pretty sure my score's up there. Yeah. Also, I have a comment for Turn Up MMA. Are any use 5 dimes? Sucks, they're going away. So 5 dimes. Okay, so I used to use it when I worked. I still work for Oddsbreaker, but like 5 or 6 years ago, they sponsored us, so they would hook us up and stuff like that. I did use it for a while. I found the payouts extremely difficult to get. Like they always had the excuse, like they couldn't send certain amount of money like at a certain time. So to me, they were a good book because they offer good lines, but there was issues with payouts. I don't know if it's because I'm Canadian or not, but there was issues with that. I didn't see they were closing, but I just Googled it, and they're saying they're going to close 5 dimes to American customers. I'm not surprised by that at all, Cole. I mean, the whole gambling thing, they want to start, doing it in the States, in the actual States, and I think they want to tax it and stuff. So I think that's exactly the reason they're doing that, because they don't want all the offshore books to get all the money. So I just read about that. I'll check it out later. But yeah, 5 dimes, I mean, it is a good sports book as far as lines and betting, and I had some success there in the past, but I did have issues, with certain cash outs, but I don't know if that's different now. I don't use it anymore. And also I know that Tony, who caused some problems to people, dude, he was killed a couple years ago, and I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but I personally didn't really know Tony, but I know Nick did, and Nick was he took that pretty hard when Tony was killed. So it was pretty crazy, man. But hopefully you guys can find another book if that's an issue for you. There's lots of sports books out there right now, Cole. I mean, there's some really good ones. And you want to say something about that, Cole?
Well, yeah, and 5 dimes is always one of the first to open lines too. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see what offshore sports like now is the first, because it seems like most of them just basically open theirs based off what 5 dimes did. So now one of them has to be one of the first to open.
I mean, Nick was the odds maker for 5 dimes for years, and Nick did an amazing job. Nick was so quick to get the lines out. He was getting them out Monday, Tuesday, Cole. A lot of these other books, they'll copy other books. So hopefully you can find another book. Anyways, let's go through the rest of this card quickly. Second co-main event. OSP knocks out Benefield, second round. Cole, I don't know why you switched your pick, man. Come on, you shouldn't have switched your pick. I told you this, Cole, and I love Benefield, but you can't train cardio in 2 extra weeks, Cole. That's something that's like a lifelong thing. It's going to take months and months. It's a lifestyle change. He's got too much muscle in his body, Cole. Sorry, but he does. I think he could make a drop to 185 potentially. Like, he has way too much muscle. He looked really small in that cage. OSP is a massive light heavyweight, by the way. He's massive. OSP is so super underrated, by the way. How is he not ranked? How is Paul Craig ranked and OSP isn't ranked? OSP is a good fighter, man. OSP has way more experience. He has the most finishes in UFC light heavyweight history, yet he's not ranked over a guy like Paul Craig or even Shogun, who's completely, I wouldn't say completely shot, but he's at the end of his career. So to me, OSP is so underrated, Cole. And I know that you think your boy Menefield might get cut after this.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting what they do with him. He's 2-fight lose streak. He hasn't looked too good in his past 2 fights. Like, I think they're gonna give him one more, but I like looking back, I didn't really understand the matchmaking. Like, he lost Devin Clark, and to me, OSP is a bigger step up than Devin Clark. I just didn't trust OSP. Like, I don't know. I have a tough time trusting him still. Like, he just loses fights when he shouldn't. I thought this was gonna be one of those, but OSP to me, like, I don't get why he's ranked. Like, Nikita Krylov, I know they're 1-1, so like. And Nikita Krylov's 9. I'd probably pick OSP to beat Misha Serkinov at 10. Anthony Smith at 8. I don't know who I'd pick in that fight. That's a close one. Like, he's for sure a top 15 guy, and you can even make the case he's probably even top 10.
It's kind of weird how like Misha's ranked above Johnny Walker, right? When they just fought like last year and he knocked him out. I love Misha. He's Canadian, obviously. He's coming off a nice win over Crew. I think he's ranked a little too high. We could complain about the rankings all day, but to me, OSP is a guy that he's got a win over Shogun. He has a win over Corey Anderson. He's got the win over Menefield now. He's got some other wins. He's a guy who's been around forever, Cole, and he finishes all his opponents. So to me, he's a guy that should be ranked in the top 15. I think it's nuts he's not ranked there. Marcus Williams, a comment here. Surprised Overeem did not call Johnny Bones Jones in his post-fight interviews. Perfect time to sell that fight. Agree completely, man. I really thought he'd say something about it because in the pre-fight interviews, they were all asking him when he said, I respect Jon Jones and I think he looks good at I think he's going to be good at heavyweight, and he said he'd be interested in the fight. So to me, it's a perfect fight. I'd love to see that fight. Kenshiro says OSP and Green both look horrible in their last fight. That's why we fade them. I know what you're saying, but like Menefield didn't look good either, man, in his last fight. And Sakai is kind of – I'm with you, Cole. I mean, he's a little bit overrated when you think about it. Like some of his wins – he's ranked number 9, I think, or he was. Some of his wins were kind of sketchy. Like the Arlovsky fight, there's no way he won that fight. So to me, he's a guy he's a decent fighter, Cole, but you're right. I mean, does he beat the majority of the top 10? No. Maybe a couple guys at the bottom end of the top 15, like Blagoy. We're going to say, Cole.
Well, I don't even really know if he beat Blagoy. Like,
yeah,
if Blagoy took him down when that fence grab happened, if he took him down, like, we saw Sakai doesn't know how to get up once he gets to his back.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's go through the rest of this quick. Michelle Pahea defeats Salima Madiev, 3rd round submission. Sketchy stoppage, man. Yeah. That's not a good stoppage, but it didn't matter because
he was winning 30-27, 30-26, whatever you wanted to call it.
I'm with you on that. I mean, that was a blowout anyway, so like to me, it's not super controversial, but there's no way that was a tap, and it was almost like the ref just wanted to stop the fight. Or some people were saying, Chris Taioni cashed his ticket on Pahea by 3rd round submission, just like he cashed his ticket on Trevin Jones by 2nd round knockout a couple weeks ago. You know what? I actually think he's not a bad ref. Like some of those fights that people were questioning the stoppages, Cole, they don't look that bad in hindsight. I mean, after the guy was getting too old and then he comes back to win, I mean, why would you stop the fight if the guy came back to win, right? So to me, he's not that bad. Andre Muniz, great performance here against Bartosz Fabinski. Armbar, 1st round. This is definitely a guy overlooked on this card, Cole. I mean, I like Fabinski. I think his grappling is great, and I really was impressed by his fight against Darren Stewart. That's why I picked him here. But Muniz, I think he's got a 6-fight win streak right now, Cole, and he's looking good, man. And he finishes everyone, too. What are you going to say?
He was so much bigger than Fabinski. I didn't realize how big he is for 185.
I agree. And he looked good in this fight. He deserved a bonus, and he got it. Brian Kelleher also got a bonus. I mean, this fight was a joke. To be honest, the line was too low. I think it was like -400 at close, something like that. It should have been like -600, 700.
Brian Keller inside the distance was literally like -125 or something like that.
That's nuts. That's nuts. Ray Rodriguez, I mean, credit to the guy. He literally took the fight on 1 day's notice. Like, he literally did. But this fight wasn't competitive. Brian Keller is an underrated guy. Definitely a guy that not enough people talk about, but he's a fun guy to watch, and I like his personality too. He seems like kind of a cool dude. Viviane Araujo loses a 30-25 decision to Montana De La Rosa. Montana De La Rosa just destroyed Viviane Araujo. Daniel Cormier was so right about this fight, Cole. He was so right. No, I'm just kidding, guys. This was a blowout for Araujo. The commentary in this fight was pathetic. I mean, come on, DC. Like, call the fight out as it is, man. I know the UFC, obviously, they want to promote Montana a little bit, Cole. Like, they like her. She's definitely a good-looking girl. She's got a good story. Come on. This fight was a blowout for Araujo. The commentary was ridiculous, Cole. What do you think about this one, man?
Yeah, Araujo won all 3 rounds. Like, I don't get what they're talking about. I picked Delaware when I thought she could just out-grapple Araujo, but Araujo's takedown defense was really impressive.
Yeah.
I'm still not high on her. Like I picked Jessica to beat her. If you lose, like Jessica did end up beating her. Like I don't know how she does against the top 5 of the division. Like
Yeah.
if she fights top 5, I'll probably pick against her again. But this was a good performance. But I didn't think it was close. I even saw some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, you could make a case for Jalarosa." I'm like, didn't even see Jalarosa win a round.
That's a problem. People thought that because that means people were paying attention too much to the commentary, not enough to the fight. You know, I do obviously listen to the commentary because I want to hear what they're saying, but I really try to pay attention to the fight. And the commentators, they're usually decent in the UFC, but this was a bad performance by Cormier in this fight. And finally, Cole, you lost the unanimous decision, man, to open up the card against Hunter Azure, man. You got taken down at will and beaten up. In the third round, Cole, you almost came back with your cardio, but ultimately Hunter Azure defeated you via unanimous decision, Cole. So any thoughts on this performance by you, Cole?
Yeah, Hunter looked good. I thought he'd win at Joe's decision. His gas tank does worry me. If guy has really good cardio, that's the big problem. Like I think he'll always lose that third round, and he might even get finished in that third round. His whole game plan is just out grapple, win the first 2 rounds, and then just try to survive that third round. But I don't know how that's going to work against some of these top 15 bantamweights. But this is a good win for him. Cole Smith now 2-fight lose streak. I think they're going to give him 1 more, but he has to win his next fight or he's going to be cut as well.
Yeah, he's not that great, man, honestly. Like, he doesn't throw enough strikes, and yeah, his cardio is pretty good, but you have to have other weapons besides just cardio. Cardio is a big weapon, and Hunter Azure's going to work on it, but overall, I mean, I thought he looked okay. Bonuses, OSP got one, Kelleher, Muniz, and who's the other one? Who am I forgetting, Cole? I just changed the page by accident.
OSP, Muniz.
Hey, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, Overeem didn't get one, but to me, Overeem makes a lot of money anyway, so no big deal. Just take some comments, and we'll get into the breakdown of this weekend's card. Turned up MMA. He said he's got Bethe aside of that in my book. He likes 5 Dimes the best. 5 Dimes is a good book. As far as lines go and stuff, is good. But again, I had some issues with payouts over the years, so it is what it is. Unknown Magician says, Pereira by sub, I have no complaints. Yeah, I mean, you kind of got a gift there, bro, but it happens, right? Like, that's sports for you, man. So congrats. And Ken Shearer says he also had people betting on that. I'm surprised you guys bet on him. Zelane's never been submitted. He is more of a knockout, guys. But, I mean, obviously you guys saw something there and you saw some value in that, so congrats. And here's a good question. Marcus Williams. How big of a star do you think Michel Pereira could be if he learns English and continues to win like he did on Saturday? The pimp slaps are funny. I like this guy, man. He's a good fighter, Cole, honestly. And I saw Kamaru Usman praising him afterwards, saying, like, this guy's improved his skills. He's got good cardio, obviously. He's got improved cardio, I should say. Much better than that Tristan Conley fight. If he's not out there jumping around and dancing and stuff, he's good, man. So I like the guy. The slaps were good. And, I think Cole, I think he could be a star for the UFC, especially in Brazil. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think he can, if he learns English, that's a big thing. That's why, like, Jose Aldo, as good as he was, he never became that big star, is because he didn't learn English. I think if you're going to be that big star, you have to break out in the North American market by learning English. Like,
Yep.
If he learns English, even just a tiny bit, like even just Habib. Habib isn't has good English, but he does enough to where he can do interviews and speak, like, to promote a fight. If Pereira can just do that, I think he can be a big star, especially the way he's fighting. Like, he's not doing those somersaults. He's not dancing all the way to the octagon. He's not gassing himself out. Like, if he fights like that, and even if he just throws in some of those slaps, like, it's kind of funny. And I think he can be something, but he is obviously, he needs to be a better, smarter fighter, because we also saw what happened with Diego Sanchez.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's only 26 years old, man. He looks way older than 26.
He has so many fights, too.
Yeah, he's got like 30-something fights, right? 40 fights almost. I'm surprised he's 26, man. I don't know if that's a truthful age. Straight wager. Pinnacle is the only book in Canada in regards to not capping your success limits. Pinnacle is a very good sports book as well. I agree completely. They usually have really good lines and no issues with payouts as far as my past concerned. I've used the book. It's a really good book, and he's right. I mean, I don't think they limit people. Like, you can win on that book, and they won't limit you. They welcome winners, actually. I think that's their trademark. So, very good book. I agree with you. Kenshiro says, Pehe is 24-11, 26 years old. I think for lifetime perfect capoeira and May's improvement, get better. Don't let the 11 losses in May when he was basically a teenager. That's another good point too. A lot of his losses early in his career. You have to really look at the guys. Just because he has a bad record doesn't mean he's losing recently. And a lot of his losses, Cole, are like DQ losses and stuff. Like, this guy's he's a guy that's been learning on the job. And he says he looks like he's 33. I agree completely. I mean, he definitely looks like he's a little bit older than me. I mean, I'm not saying I look young by any means, but he looks a little bit older than me. Probably because of that, like you said, the beard. Okay, that's it for this card. Let's move on to this weekend's card, Cole. So let me tee it up, Cole, and I just want to get your quick thoughts on this card while I tee it up.
Oh, I think Bellator's card's better. I don't think this is a very good card. I think Mix Archuleta is the best fight of the weekend.
I think the Bellator card Friday is really good. There's 2 Bellator cards. We're not doing it today, guys. I'm going to do them tomorrow by myself, 10 a.m. Like I said, I like Bellator's card on Friday though. As far as this UFC card, I actually think it's not bad. Not a lot of big names. The main event's not a good main event. Too bad Glover and Thiago Santos was scratched. That fight would have been really good. I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. It's unfortunate it's only going to be 3 rounds now in October, Cole. That should be a 5-round fight because most likely the winner's getting a title shot. So that's unfortunate, but I actually think this card's not bad. There's a lot of like really closely on fights, and even some of the fights where like there's bigger favorites. I think there's a few fights where the underdog has a chance. So to me, it's not a bad card. Okay, Cole. Let's start with the first fight on the card, and I don't know, like we're kind of seeing different. There's a few different lineups out there, but I'm going to go with what Tapology says.
No, Tapology updated because this was shown on the broadcast.
Okay, so I'll go with whatever Tapology says right now. But again, this card's subject to change too. I guarantee you, once again, I'll bet you guys anything. That
12 fights over under 9.5. Do we get double digits fights?
Oh, over under 9.5. I'll take the over, but I think it's better said at probably 10.5. I think we'll set it at 10.5. So I'm going to take the under on that too, Cole. I think
we get 11.
You see, okay, we'll go. Okay,
I think we lose one fight.
I think that's why I said at 10.5. So let's start with the first fight according to Tapology. Women's flyweight bout: Sabina Mazo against Justine Kish. And right now the odds: Sabina Mazo minus 245, Kish plus 205. Give me your pick.
I have to go Sabina Mazo. I am not high on Justine Kish at all. I know she returned after that layoff, beat Lucy Pudilova. I don't think Pudilova's a good fighter either. So to me, that win isn't that impressive. Sabina Mazo, obviously, she's on that 2-fight win streak. Shayna Dobson, JJ Aldridge, not that high level competition. I personally wouldn't bet this fight. It's 2 low level women's fights. You don't really know what you're gonna get. I just think Mazo's is gonna throw more volume. She's the younger fighter. She has more upside. I just think she can be able to just be the more volume striker, be the more active striker, and just kind of grind out a decision win. Just their striking, just hit Kish more. I'm just this is more of a fade on Justine Kish because I'm not really high on Sabina Mazo at all either.
I think this fight's a little closer than the odds are indicating personally because I feel like it's going to be one of those women's flyweight belts that stays on the feet, and there's going to be a lot of strikes thrown by both girls, and whatever the judges see is how it's going to play out on the scorecard. So to me, the fight's a little bit closer. I'd cap Mazo about minus 200, maybe a little minus 190, something in that area. So to me, minus 245 is a little bit rich on her. I am going to pick Mazo to win because, first off, she's 9 years younger, 23 years old compared to 32 for Kish. She's been far more active the last few years. Kish barely fights anymore. And also she has a 6-inch reach advantage, which is huge too. So to me, those physical advantages, Cole, are going to help her in this fight. But Kish is not terrible, and she has some decent wins like Nina Ansarov, Brandon Marcos. Those were like 5 or 6 years ago, though, so it's been a while. But she does have quite a bit of experience at the highest level. So I think she potentially could pull off the upset here, Cole, and I personally wouldn't recommend betting on Mazo. The odds on the fight going the distance, that is minus 270. I think that probably wins. I don't see this fight ending inside the distance. I think that's a better bet, personally. I think 3-round fight. I'm going to pick Mazo by decision, but I think Kish could potentially pull it off too. Next up, we have a welterweight bout. This one's kind of a head-scratcher, Cole, in my opinion. Brian Barber against Anthony Ivy. Kind of weird matchmaking here, in my opinion. Right now, we have Barberina minus 275, Ivy plus 235. Who's your pick?
I think Barberina's going to knock out Anthony Ivy probably pretty early, like first, second round. I picked Anthony Ivy in his last fight, and he fell down from a punch to the forehead. I was not impressed at all. He did not look good. I think Barberina, I know he has a couple finish losses, like his last 2 were finishes, but those were in the 3rd round, and he survived. Like, Luque and Brown hit him with like everything they could throw, and he just kept walking forward the first 2 rounds. I can't see Ivy doing that to him. I just think Barberina is just going to be the more powerful striker, the better striker. I think he's going to eventually land something. Ivy's going to go down. He'll finish with ground pound, like I said, pretty early first, second round.
I'm just scratching my head at this matchup. I don't really understand it. Anthony obviously had one fight in the UFC. He got knocked out in 59 seconds by Christian Aguilera. You look at some of his wins, Cole, and we both did pick him in that fight, but you look back and man, his level of competition was fairly poor. I mean, considering how quickly he got knocked out, you have to wonder how kind of bad those guys are he beat, Cole. Like, they're probably not that great. So to me, that's after seeing that loss, Cole, and the way he got finished, that's a pure fade on this guy. I know Barberina is coming off 2 straight knockout losses too, but first off, he was going to beat Vicente Luque had that fight gone decision. It ended with 6 seconds left in the third round. He got knocked out, but he was close to winning a decision as a huge underdog. The Randy Brown fight was pretty competitive. He got knocked out in that fight. I guess that's why they matched him up, because he was coming off the 2 straight knockout losses. But, this is a guy who's been there with some really good fighters. He's pulled off a lot of upsets in his career, like the Sage Northcutt fight and Warley Alves. Like, he's been written off a lot. He's a big favorite here. I don't love seeing Brian Barber as a big favorite, Cole, because to me, he's one of those guys you like to bet on as a dog. But in this case, I like him here, Cole. I think he finishes Anthony Ivy. Could be knockout, could be a submission, but I'm pretty sure he finishes this fight. I don't love the line. I think it's fair because I think he's pretty much going to dominate this fight. I just don't love him as a favorite. He's one of those guys I like to bet on as a dog. So you got to look at the line a little bit more, but I'm pretty sure people are going to parlay this guy. Next up, we have Frank Camacho against Brock Weaver at lightweight. Right now, we have Frank Camacho minus 225, Weaver plus 185. Who's your pick?
Again, don't love the line on this, but I have to go Frank Camacho. I think Brock Weaver is not a good fighter. I don't think he's UFC caliber, and I don't even think he has the power to knock Frank Camacho out. Frank Camacho obviously doesn't have that good chin. I wouldn't recommend betting Frank Camacho at this line. Like, what is he now? He's
minus 225.
Yeah, like
hard. Yeah,
that's not anything good. I just think he'll be able to outstrike Brock Weaver, maybe eventually put Weaver out.
Yeah,
I am just, again, like, Weaver was getting dominated against Rodrigo Vargas and only won because of the illegal knee. He looked terrible against Roosevelt Roberts. I just think Frank Camacho is going to be able to win this fight pretty easily. I think this is going to be Brock Weaver's last fight in the UFC as well.
Yeah, I'm honestly not high on both guys, man. I really used to like Frank Camacho a lot. He was a fun, exciting guy to watch. He took a lot of damage, though, in his first couple of fights. He won fight of the night, I think, 3 times in a row, but he took a lot of damage in those fights. That last fight against Justin James, getting knocked out in 41 seconds like that, was really bad to watch. And to me, he's a pure fade. So Brock Weaver's a guy I like to fade too, Cole, but I can't pass up the odds here of plus 180 on Brock Weaver against Frank Camacho just because you can't bet minus 225 on Frank Camacho. You just can't do it. You look at his record, Cole. He's won one of his last 5 fights. How can he be this big of a favorite? I know, again, Brock Weaver has not looked good in the UFC, and to me, he's a guy that you can fade, and his record is just not impressive at all, but it's a pure fade on Frank Camacho, man. I don't like him as a favorite here. I'm picking Brock Weaver, Cole. I think he can possibly knock Camacho out, if not grind a decision out. I don't love betting on Brock Weaver. I just think there's value on him. I honestly do. You cannot bet on Frank Camacho at this kind of odds. Next up, we have a lightweight bout between Alan Patrick and Bobby Green. Bobby Green, man, he's being really active. I like that. Right now, he's a minus 225 favorite, and Patrick plus 205. Go ahead, Cole.
Well, obviously, Bobby Green taking this fight on short notice. Alan Patrick was supposed to fight out Rodrigo Vargas, who lost to Brock Weaver. Alan Patrick hasn't fought since UFC 229, the Khabib Conor card. We got knocked out or ground and pounded by Scott Holtzman. Even though Bobby Green's taking this fight on short notice, I still think he's going to have the better cardio than Alan Patrick. I think he's the better fighter than Alan Patrick. I just think on the feet, he'll be able to pick apart Alan Patrick. The 2-year layoff, I don't really like for Patrick. I just think Green being more active. He's obviously, how much can you get out of shape in that short little time? So I think he's still going to be in good fighting shape. I think his cardio is going to be there. I actually think he's going to be able to outgrind Patrick, maybe put him against the fence, use his striking just to get another decision win here.
I really like Bobby Green in this fight. Even with the short notice, I really like him here, Cole. I think it's a great matchup for Bobby Green. First off, he's been super active. I thought he's looked really good lately against Guida and against Venata. Venata, I mean, that was an awesome performance. Great fight, and he looked really good in it. Good takedown defense, great boxing. I mean, this guy's got it all. Good cardio, too. When Bobby Green is right and when he's mentally right, he is one of the better lightweights in the UFC. So to me, he's actually a very underrated fighter. I love getting him as a dog in the last fight, Cole. I know you did too. He's a big favorite here. You got to pay a premium price, but I think it's worth it. I would rather bet on Green than Mazzo or probably even Barber. I think I'm pretty confident in Green in this fight, guys. I just feel like he's going to stop all the takedowns, keep the fight standing, and pick apart Patrick. Patrick does have some good wrestling. We see that in the past, Cole, but at 37 years old, hasn't fought in 2 years. I wrote my preview last night, Cole. I sent it in to Brian at Oddsbreaker. That's exactly what I said. I'm like, this guy hasn't fought since Conor Khabib. That's the last time he fought. That's a long time ago. That's a pure fade. I feel bad for this dude because I liked his story a few years ago, and he was, saying I really need the bonus money to have a house. We live in the favelas in Brazil. I like the guy. He's kind of had it rough a little bit, but I think it's a bad matchup for him, Cole. I would have picked him against Rodrigo Vargas. I would. But but I don't like this matchup for him at all, Cole. I think Bobby Green wins a clear decision, and I do like him for parlay, actually. What are you going to say?
And Bobby Green by decision is only -110, which I'm surprised. I'm surprised that's not more juiced.
That's not bad. I mean, I guess he could finish Patrick, but I doubt it. He's more of a decision guy. So I actually like that, Cole. It's not bad. That's actually a really good prop you just pointed out. Next up, we have a lightweight bout between Roosevelt Roberts and Matt Frevola. Interesting fight here. Competitive odds. And right now we have Roberts -115, Frevola -105. Who's your pick?
Yeah, this is a really interesting fight. There's a lot of heat between them because Roosevelt Roberts and Jalen Turner are like best friends. And Matt Frevola beat Jalen Turner. And ever since then, after every single fight, Roosevelt Roberts has been calling Matt Frevola out. So I'm going to get that one back. I talked to Roberts for this fight. He was fired up for this one, but I'm going the other way. I think I like Matt Frevola in there. I know it's kind of that pick 'em. I still think if you like Matt Frevola like I do, I think you should wait. So Roosevelt Roberts is the more popular fighter. I think there's going to be money on him, and I think you might even be able to get a bit of plus money on Matt Frevola. I know Roosevelt Roberts is obviously really big. He's 6'2", but Matt Frevola's had a lot of success against those guys. Like his last two fights were Jalen Turner and Luis Pena, who are massive lightweights. I think Matt Frevola can just get on the inside of Roosevelt Roberts, clinch him up against the fence, even take him down. And we saw Roberts have to struggle against kind of these fighters like Vince Pichel, Jim Miller, where if he gets clinched up or gets taken down to the ground, he doesn't have a whole lot of success. That's Matt Frevola's clear path to victory. I think he can just do similar to what he did to Jalen Turner, just clinch him up, take him down, just kind of grind out a decision win. And even as this slight pick him on Matt Frevola, I still like that line quite a bit for him.
Dude, I like Matt Frevola too, man. I think he should be favored in this fight. Roosevelt Roberts has way too many holes in his grappling. You know, we saw Jim Miller, what he did to him. We saw what Vince Pichel did to him. And honestly, you look at his wins, Cole, he literally beat the worst guys in this division. Like Errol Horcher, Thomas Gifford, Brock Weaver, and Yakova's it's a decent win. But the other guys are like, I don't even think they're in the UFC anymore except for Weaver, right? So this guy is not as great as like people think he is, and he's always a big favorite, Cole. It's weird. Here he's only a small favorite, but I think that's wrong. I think Frevola should be favored in this fight. I think the line's wrong. You know, look at Frevola's performance in the UFC. The Polo Reyes fight, that was a bad loss. That was almost 3 years ago. That was even before Stipe versus Nagano too. Like that was a long time ago. And since then he's undefeated. He's looked really good. Good wrestling. I think that's the game plan here. Take him down and try to submit him possibly, but even if he doesn't submit him, I just think he's going to grind him out. Give me Matt Frevola, man. And definitely, I think he's worth a bet, guys, as a dog here.
Yeah.
But I'm with Cole. I mean, you could wait a few more days and get plus money, maybe plus 110 or something. That'd be good odds too. But Cole, I like him to win this fight, man. I really do. I think he wins. I like the odds. What are you going to say, Cole?
Well, I just think Roosevelt is the more popular fighter. That's why I think money's going to come in on him. So I think even at this, like even if you bet him at -105, -110, that's a pretty good line on him as well.
When are people going to learn about this guy, honestly? Like he's got flaws in his game, guys, with his grappling. All right, next up, women's bantamweight bout, Julia Avila against Sajara Eubanks. And right now we have Avila -310, Eubanks +255. She was supposed to fight last week and got pushed to this card. Who's your pick in this one, Cole?
I have to go Julia Avila. Fade on Sajara Eubanks. The fade on Eubanks continues. I am just not high on her. I think if you're going to bet this fight, I think the best way to do it if you like Julia Avila is go live betting. Sajara Eubanks always wins the first round, and she always gasses herself in that first round. She's going to look good in this first round against Julia Avila, and then she's going to gas herself. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this line gets way lower after the first round live betting, and Avila just wins that second or third round or even finishes Eubanks. Avila, to me, I know she hasn't fought the high-level competition. Like she's fought Gina Mazzani, Penna Kianzad. On the regional scene, she beat Nika Montano, which is pretty good win. I just can't get around to picking Sajara Eubanks to win, so I think Avila wins this fight. Probably decision, maybe a late finish.
Yeah, no, I like Avila a lot, and this is someone else I would parlay too. I'm just going to look at what Green and Avila would be, just as far as parlay them go. Avila and Green. Where's Green? Where is he? Don't see. Oh, here he is. -116. I mean, you maybe wait a few days to get to even money. I think they both win, Cole. And I like Avila a lot in this fight. Eubanks is a pure fade. She's 35 years old. She's not improving. She's getting worse. Hasn't looked good in the UFC. Cole, she lost to Bethe Correia last year, man. Come on. Like, that's a fight you have to win. I don't know. I'm not impressed by her, man. I've never really been impressed by Sarge. I think she's a little bit overrated. I know Avila, she's not young. She's 32, but she doesn't have any fights, hasn't had that much damage. And, she's someone that has actually got some good wins in the short amount of time she's been in the sport. Like, she has wins over Montano, Renault, like good wins. And then UFC, Kayhanzad and Mazanian looked good in both those fights. The last fight, she looked incredible, although Mazani is obviously not UFC caliber. Give me Julia vehicle. Does she win by decision or TKO? That's the question. I'm kind of leaning decision because Sarge is pretty tough, but I could see a V actually finishing her too. So I like a V in this fight. Next up, this is a really close fight. This is one of the closest fights on the card. Matt Schnell against Tyson Nam. Right now we have Tyson Nam minus 125, Matt Schnell plus 105. Who's your pick?
I'm going with the slight underdog and Matt Schnell. I'm just more impressed. Tyson Nam, to me, he was the guy that should have been in the UFC a long time ago. He was just in the UFC too late in his career. He obviously lost first 2 fights to Pettis and Kai Kara-France, knocked out a Saruka Adeshev. And we were like one of the only people that picked him to win that fight. And I still don't understand why people were picking Zaruk to win that fight against Tyson Nam, but I think people are putting too much into Matt Schnell's last loss. We got knocked out to Pantoja and thinking Nam's that powerful striker. I just think Schnell's going to be able to win this fight in the grappling department. I don't see Nam being able to stop the takedowns of Matt Schnell, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Matt Schnell can get a submission win here. I'm really high on Matt Schnell. I think he's one of the top 10, top 5 flyweights. He obviously just got caught against Pantoja, but Pantoja's a top 5 flyweight. I think he had tons of time. Like, he took a lot of time off to heal his brain and whatnot. I don't see Nam landing a knockout punch, and that's kind of the only way I see him winning this fight. I can't see Nam outpointing Schnell on decision, and I don't see him getting a knockout. So I think Matt Schnell can either win a decision or maybe even submit Tyson Nam.
I think this fight's super close. I think the line is somewhat accurate. I personally would line it like near like an actual pick'em close.
Yeah,
because I think it's really close. Matt Schnell, I think he has the grappling advantage for sure. I mean, he's had some nice submissions, man. The Espinoza fight, Smolka. But his chin, Cole, is not good. You know, he's been knocked out 3 times in the UFC. 7 fights in the UFC, he's been knocked out 3 times for a flyweight. That's not good. So his chin is super questionable, in my opinion. Nam is coming off a massive knockout win over Zaruk Adashev. I think he was the underdog in that fight, Cole. We both picked him there. It was crazy. He was the dog. He does have KO power. He does have good striking. He does have decent takedown defense. But he's 36, and he's going to start showing his age. Schnell, 30 years old. Schnell is, to me, the grappling is the edge for him in this fight. And if he can get a takedown, he'll win this fight. If it stays standing, though, I'm worried he's going to get KO'd again. So I will pick Schnell too, Cole. It's a tough one to call, but that's what I was leaning as well. I'm kind of glad we're on the same page, Cole, but I'm not as confident as you are, Cole. So I'll take Matt Schnell decision or possibly a submission. I think Tyson Nam could knock him out, though, so I wouldn't bet on this fight personally. I think it's super, super close. Next up, Billy Quarantillo against Kyle Nelson at 145. Quarantillo minus 255. Kyle Nelson plus 215. Who's your pick?
I like Billy Quarantillo. Obviously, Kyle Nelson, a fellow Canadian, lives in Ontario, just near us too. So I think if Nelson can't get Quarantillo to the first round, he's going to have a lot of troubles. Kyle Nelson, his first UFC fight, you can't really take much into it. He took it on 5-6 days notice at 231 against Diego Ferreira. His second loss, getting sent against Matt Sales, that's a fight he probably should have won. And then the last one, really nice win over Polo Reyes, but he hasn't fought in almost a year. So that's going to be interesting to see how he looks after a year off. He might have improved a lot, but I'm pretty high on Quarantillo. I can't see Nelson. I can't see Nelson landing the knockout punch in the first round. I think Quarantillo is going to survive and then use his grappling and maybe even submit Kyle Nelson. I wouldn't be surprised if he submits him late in the fight, similar to Matt Sales in that third round. I like Quarantillo here. I think he's a parlay piece. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if you could parlay him with a Bobby Green, someone like that, or even do like a 3-leg, like a Bobby Green and who was the other person we talked about?
Yeah, I'm just looking at I literally just clicked on that, and that's plus 159 for those 3. And I'm with you, Cole. I think he wins too. I like Quarantillo a lot in this fight, guys. First off, momentum is huge in the sport. This guy has 7 straight wins. He looked amazing against Mike Carlisle. That fight was incredible, by the way. He's looked amazing in the UFC, man. He's a really, really good fighter. I think he did test positive for COVID-19, so that's always a concern. But, if he's taking this fight, he's definitely tested negative recently. And I like this guy, man. Kyle Nelson, he did have a nice win over Polo Reyes, Cole, but that's a guy without a chin, really, to be honest with you. And before that, he had lost 2 straight fights. I like Kyle, obviously, a local Ontario guy. I've watched him fight before. I mean, dude, I've seen this guy fight in person back in 2012. He fought at Score Fighting Series 6, and he also fought at Submission Substance Cage Combat. So I've seen this guy fight in like little hockey arenas and stuff, man. And I love the guy because, it's a guy that I've kind of grown up with as well during my career, but I don't like the matchup for him. I think Quarantillo is better everywhere. I don't usually recommend doing 3-team parlays, especially if you're laying a lot of money on it, but I think those 3 win, Cole. So I'm pretty confident in all of them. This seems like a card where there's quite a few favorites to parlay, including a couple coming up. So, typically I kind of look for pick 'em lines, like close lines or dogs. But in this case, I like Quarantillo a lot, Cole. Cole, I think you should be higher, odds. I think you should be at minus 300. So there is a little bit of value, I think, in Quarantillo here. I think he dominates this fight and wins either a decision, Cole, or possibly a stoppage too. Next up, this is a kind of an interesting fight. Ed Herman against Mike Rodriguez at 205. Rodriguez filling in on short notice for Gerald Meerschaert. And Rodriguez right now minus 255. Herman plus 215. Who's your pick?
I like Mike Rodriguez here. I don't like Ed Herman at light heavyweight. Rodriguez is going to be much better. Rodriguez is a massive light heavyweight. I know he's taking this fight on short notice, but he just fought. He's still in camp. I talked to him before this one, and he basically even said, when he left the fight, the UFC said, we're going to get you something soon, stay in shape. So he basically went right back into the gym, started working out, and he took his fight on short notice. Ed Herman, I wonder what his mental state is like for this fight. I know James talked to him. He went through like 5 or 6 different opponents. He obviously had the fight pull out the day of against Gerald Meerschaert. I kind of wonder what he was training like after that Meerschaert fight got pulled out. Because he obviously would. Dana White said after he got all mad and went to the pool and started drinking. So I wonder what he was training like. I think Rodriguez can win this fight, but if this gets into the 3rd round, I think Ed Herman can have a lot of success. I like Ed Herman's cardio better than Mike Rodriguez's, so that's a worry. And I honestly don't see Rodriguez finishing him, but I just think he can do enough, win the first 2 rounds, probably lose the 3rd round, win a decision against Ed Herman.
I agree with almost everything you said there, Cole, to be honest. I feel kind of bad for Ed Herman because to me, the UFC gave him a really raw deal. This is a guy who's been in the UFC for 14 years, since the Ultimate Fighter Season 3. Aside from Diego Sanchez, I think he's the longest tenured fighter right now on the roster. So I have a lot of respect for Ed Herman. I mean, this is a guy who's the pioneer of the sport. He deserves more respect than what he's been getting from the UFC. He got pulled. His fight got pulled because Meerschaert tested positive. He went to the pool to relax and have a few drinks. What is wrong with that? For Dana White to go out there and be like, he should have been ready to fight. How would he know that? Like, Kevin Holland's opponent would faint. And Kevin Holland's not even a light heavyweight, which made no sense to me, Cole. That whole thing was so bizarre. So the UFC punished this guy kind of. I think they gave him $10,000 to go home and relax, but he had to train again for this fight. So no idea what his mental state is. I think that was a great point you brought up, Cole. But to be honest, Ed Herman's a guy who fights on instinct anyways. I don't think 2 extra weeks of training is going to change much for him. He's a guy who's just a veteran. This is how the fight goes. Either Rodriguez goes out there and knocks him out, I think, in the 1st round, or Ed Herman survives and is able to grind a decision out, or possibly even knock Rodriguez out late. Ed Herman does have sneaky KO power at times. We saw him knock out Patrick Cummins. We saw him knock out Tim Boach. He's a tough dude. He's got good knees from the clinch, good clinch work. The Caddis Ibrahimov fight, man, he looked good in that fight. Ed Herman he's 39 years old, Cole, but he's actually on a 2-fight win streak. So the guy's actually looked decent lately. I would have picked him against Gerald Meerschaert because I like the odds in that fight. I can't remember who you picked in that fight.
I picked Gerald.
Yeah, you picked Gerald, but I did pick Herman. And in this fight, Rodriguez, he's coming off a nice win. He looked great against Pratchino, but number one, Marcin Pratchino is not. I think he was cut immediately after that fight. He's not a good fighter. No chin. Not only that, but this guy was knocked out brutal fashion by Dan Jung before that. He was dominated by John Allen before that. He did beat Milstead, but he was also dominated by Devin Clark. So to me, this is a guy he's getting a little overrated, Cole.
Yeah.
Coming off a nice
I wouldn't lay this price on him at all.
I'm with you completely. So Mike Rodriguez, he probably does knock Herman out. I mean, Herman's tough, but he has been KO'd a few times. I just don't like the odds on Rodriguez, man. So my pick's Rodriguez, but this is you got to be careful on this one, guys. Seriously, don't underrate Ed Herman too much. Next up, Andrea Lee against Roxanne Ferry. It's a rematch at women's 125 right now. Andrea Lee minus 320, Roxanne plus 260. Who's your pick?
I'm going to Andrea Lee. I just think I know they already fought. They fought a couple years ago, and they fought in 2014. It was Andrea Lee's 3rd fight, and it was Roxanne Ferry's almost 30th or 26th, 27th fight, something like that. She was when she fought Andrea Lee, she was 16-11. So, 27 fights compared to Andrea Lee's 3rd fight, and it was a split decision back then. And I think since then, Andrea Lee's only become better. 2-fight losing streak, but I think both split decisions, you could have made the case for her to win both of them. And if she won both of them, she's probably fighting for the belt, like Joanne Caldwell and Lauren Murphy. But I think she's the better strike than Roxanne Ferry. I think she can keep the fight standing. I can't see her finishing Roxanne Ferry. Ferry's really hard to finish. I just think Andrea Lee's going to be the more active striker. They'll land the more punches and just get a decision win.
So I remember that card really well because I remember I had Watterson parlayed with some fighters like one FC that night, back when they called her one FC, and she lost as a big favorite to Herrica DeBurkio, who hasn't did anything since then. And I remember that fight. But also in that same card, Andrea Lee was a minus 1,050 favorite against Roxanne Modafferi and lost, who was plus 600. Roxanne won too. There was a couple big upsets that night. So to me, like, that line was nuts because at that time Andrea Lee had like 3 fights. Everyone was hyping her up, Cole. This is a little bit before you were into the sport, Cole, but like, she was getting really hyped up as a big prospect. It's taken her a little while to like really get there now. I do think she's there now, so I'm going to pick her again to win this fight, just like I picked her the first time. But the odds to me, like, it's kind of high because she has lost already to her, and Roxanne's pulled off a lot of upsets, Cole. She's kind of one of these fighters: win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Isn't she due for a win now, Cole? So I like Lee because I think her striking is going to be the difference in this fight. But man, I mean, Roxanne, if she gets the takedowns, just like Lauren Murphy did, Cole, I didn't expect Lauren Murphy to beat Andrea Lee. And I don't think she did. I don't think she should have. If Roxanne can get takedowns, she can win this fight. So I'm picking Andrea Lee. I think she wins the decision, Cole. I don't like minus 320 on her. I'm not going to pick Roxanne, but I mean, if people want to take a shot on her as a dog, I don't think it's the worst shot in the world. Andrea Lee wins the fight, but I don't like the odds. Next up, co-main event. This is a great fight called Common Worthy against Ottman Azatar at 155. Awesome fight. And right now we have the odds at, where is it? We have, the best fight odds. They got to fix this up here. Common Worthy minus 135. Ottman Azatar plus 115. Who's your pick?
You're finally not getting that dog money in Common Worthy. 2 straight fights. Massive underdogs. Plus 640 against Devontae Smith and plus 205. And he might have been higher in some other books since Luis Pena. He's finally a favorite, but I'm picking against him here. I just think this is going to be a striking fight, and I think Azatar's the better striker. He's the more powerful striker. I think he's eventually going to connect and knock Worthy out. Worthy's been knocked out before. He's undefeated at lightweight. He has looked a lot better at lightweight. If he was a lightweight his entire career, he's probably in the UFC a lot longer. Like, he's a guy that fought in Canada and got knocked out to Kyle Smith. That was his last loss at BTC. And if you look at his losses, like, he lost to Matt Passat, Billy Quarantillo, some no-names, Paul Felder. He gets knocked out a lot. He hasn't been knocked out lightweight, but I just think Azatar is going to be the bigger guy. He's going to be the more powerful striker, and eventually he's going to connect on Worthy and knock him out. And I like the dog money in Azatar.
I mean, everyone's been fading Worthy the whole time he's been in the UFC because you look at his record, he's got 5 losses by knockout, and everyone was like, he's going to lose to Devontae Smith, and he knocked him out in the first round. Everyone said he's going to lose to Pena. He choked him out in the 3rd round. The guy's super underrated. I'm with you, Cole. You don't get that dog money anymore, so it kind of sucks, but I'm still going to pick him, man. I'm going to pick Worthy. You can't bet against him, I don't think, right now. Just look at his momentum, 7 straight wins, and he's looked amazing. Ottman Azatar, undefeated. I like that about him, and he looked good against Team of Hacklin, but it's been exactly a year, actually, since he's fought, just a year and a day, so I don't like that, and I think that, Worthy's proven that he's a UFC fighter, man, and I think it's kind of hard to bet against him right now, so I can see why you're taking Azatar, Cole, and I respect that, but I'm going to go with Worthy, man. I think he can win this fight. Don't know if it's going to be by stoppage or decision, but I'm going to pick him to win this fight. I'm just not going to bet against him right now, not after the last 2 performances. The guy is really underrated, seriously. All right, finally, Cole, main event, Michelle Watterson against Angela Hill. It is a 5-round main event. Right now, Angela Hill minus 125, Watterson plus 105. Who's your pick?
Yeah, this is a really interesting fight. And my pick changed when it got announced to 5 rounds. I was originally going to Angela Hill. I'm now going Michelle Watterson. I think Watterson's cardio is a lot better. She's been there before in the UFC going 5 rounds. And to me, Angela Hill is getting more hyped up than what she actually is. Look at her girls she beat. Ariane Carnelosi, Hannah Cyphers, Luma Lukbuni. None of those girls are even close to what Michelle Watterson's like. When she gets that step up of competition, she loses. Nina Ansaroff, Courtney Casey, Randa Marcos, Yags, and she lost Claudia Dale. Really close fight. But I just think it's obviously Hill's the more volume striker. And when I talked to Watterson, we even brought this up. She knows she has to pull the trigger more. But she even said, she goes, I have a clear path to victory on the ground. Angela Hill, once you get down to the ground, she looked like a daylight fight, and Hill couldn't get up when she got her down to the ground. And I think Watterson's going to use her wrestling here. I think she's going to have a lot of success on the ground. I don't see either of them finishing it, but when it goes to a decision, I think Watterson's cardio, her wrestling is going to be the difference. I think she's going to edge out a decision win.
It's a close fight. Again, it's a very tough one to call. I think both fighters are pretty competitive. I think this fight's going the full 5 rounds. I will say that. The odds on the fight going the distance, surprisingly, only minus 230, minus 295. I think it should be minus 400. So I think there's value on that because I don't see a finish happening here, Cole. They're both fighters that don't really have KO power. The fact is 5 rounds. it's definitely interesting. I do feel like it favors Waterson a little bit, and she just recently went 5 rounds with Joanna, and she did lose that fight, but was somewhat competitive. This Barber fight, I thought she won that fight.
Me too.
Here's the thing, Cole. You look at Angela Hill, and she's looked great, and I pick against her every fight, and she's proven me wrong a lot, and I like that about her. You know, I'm not right about her fights a lot, but you know that last fight, I thought she won that fight, to be honest with you. But you look at her resume, Cole. What's her best win? Tell me right now what her best win is. Is it Marina Moroz? Is that her best win? That's not a great win. She's
Marina Moroz or Ashley Yoder, probably.
Dude, she loses to every good fighter she faces. So yes, I did think she should have beat Claudia, but she still lost on paper. She hasn't beaten anyone good. That's the thing about her. Whereas Watterson actually has decent wins. Like, you know, Carolina at the time was a good fighter. Courtney Casey, Van Zandt at the time when she beat her was good. Both of them honestly are slightly overrated, I think, as fighters, because you look at their wins and losses, Cole, not that great. I'm going to pick Waterson. I think she wins the decision here, guys, but I wouldn't bet on this fight either. You know, if anything, you take the over because the fight goes to the distance. I think the over will probably be set at 4.5, but I do think I don't see a finish here, Cole. They're 2-point fighters, man. It's going to go the distance. Waterson by decision is my pick, but it's not if I have a lot of interest in betting. Like I said, there was a few fighters on the prelims that I liked, like Frevola, and I did like Weaver a little bit as a dog. Cole picked a couple of dogs too, so interesting fight, but I think it's one of those cards where you parlay some of the favorites, you know, and generally I don't recommend going crazy like that because you never know in the sport, Cole, but I think there's going to be a lot of favorites winning. Any thoughts on any of that, Cole?
Well, yeah, and especially you can't go crazy with parlays. I don't recommend 3-leg parlays. I think 2-leg parlays is the way to go. Even if you have to lay a bit of chalk to get your money back, I think 3-leg is risky. So I think if you're going to look to parlay, I think some parlay pieces are like Billy Quarantillo, Brian Barberina, Julia Villa, maybe Andrea Lee. I know she's high up there. Maybe if you trust her a lot, but I think like if you mix and match a Quarantillo, Barberina, a Quarantillo, a Villa, a Barberina, a Villa, like I think those are smart parlay. And Bobby Green, sorry. Like I think if you mix even the only 3-leg I'd probably be confident in is Quarantillo, Barberina, Green, but even then I'd probably just do Quarantillo, Green because those are the only 2 like picks I think are for sure are like who I think are those are my most confident picks on this card.
I like a Villa too, so I think maybe you do 2 and 2 or something if you wanted to. So I think definitely you consider parlay some favorites, but again we picked a few dogs too, so you guys got a lot of options this weekend. Should be a good card. There will definitely be a few upsets though, so we'll see what happens. But I think that the ones being kind of pegged as the favorites winning should win. I'll just quickly we'll take these comments, but we got to get going because we only have like 8 minutes left. Cole, Kenshiro says you have to fade Watterson. I mean. You kind of do, but I think in this fight she could win. Straight Wager says that first black female in the main event, made black lives matter. Call me crazy. Michelle doesn't get close rounds in this fight from the judges. That's exactly. I wrote my breakdown. I just sent it in to Brian last night. I said the same thing. I'm like, who knows how the judges are going to score this fight? That's the biggest thing with this fight. The judges are going to come into play, and it could be a split decision. So it's kind of a fight that I wouldn't want action on. You don't have to bet on every fight, guys. You know what I mean? So like pick and choose. Cole, let's get through Contender series. We're going to do it really quick. So kind of rapid fire here, Cole. Let's start with this fight. Ali Akshev Kizriev against Henrik Shigemoto. That's a middleweight bout, Cole. Right now we have Kizriev as minus 355, excuse me, and Shigemoto plus 295. Who's your pick?
I like Kizriev. I just think he's going to use wrestling, grind out a win, maybe even get a ground pound submission win. I think he's going to get into the UFC regardless. 12-0. They always like having those Russian fighters to build up, and I think he's going to get his hand raised here.
I'm with you too. I mean, he hasn't fought in almost 2 years, but he did knock out Bruce Marpel Harris in his last fight. That's a nice win for him on his resume. I don't like the layoff, but I think he wins. And we didn't even talk about the Contender series. You could potentially even parlay some of these guys with UFC, although I don't recommend it as much because they're not as proven. But I do think he wins this fight. Shigemoto has experience, but I think Kuzriev undefeated. The UFC likes this guy. Next up, 135, Martinez against Draco Rodriguez. Very, very close fight. And right now we have Martinez minus 115, Rodriguez minus 105. It's like a mirror match, Cole. It's super close. Both guys are 6-1. They both don't have much experience. Who's your pick?
I actually like Draco Rodriguez. He's a guy that had a lot of success in King of the Cage, and he's someone that was going to be in the UFC a long time ago, and King of the Cage would let him out of his contract. And I've even talked to a lot of fighters. A lot of fighters even say I would recommend any of my training partners not sign King of the Cage now because Draco Rodriguez is supposed to get called up with Contender series. He's supposed to get called up at short notice. And the guy that runs a promotion said, no, you're the face of my promotion. You have to finish our fights. Same thing happened to Anthony Romero. He was supposed to be in the Contender series last year and King of the Cage blocked him. So he's fought some good guys. He lost Tony Grady in the 5th round. He ended up, that was for the belt. he obviously didn't end up, but he has 5 rounds. Like his cardio's there. I just think he's the better boxer. I think this is a stand-up fight, and I think Rodriguez can grind out a win, maybe score a late finish.
Yeah, it's super close. My lean was Martinez, but I'm not confident in this fight. I do not recommend betting on this fight. Cole, we got to go quick in the last couple, okay?
Yep.
Phil Hawes against Kadzimura Bastayev. Right now, Hawes is minus 510, which is nuts to me. Bastayev plus 405. I'll be honest, Cole. I am picking Hawes, but I think it's dog or pass, right? It has to be, right?
Yeah, Phil Hawes 0-2 and trying to get the UFC lost and tough, lost contender series. I like Hawes to win the fight, but no way you can lay that chalk on him.
I mean, Bastayev, he's not great by any means, but like he does have some, sneaky knockout power, and he has some experience. Fought Menefield as well, so I'm going to take Hawes, but I think Bastayev could win. Next up, Cameron Church against Sherwood Blockage. Both guys 4-0, Cole. And right now the odds are pretty competitive. Church minus 120, Blockage plus 100. Who's your pick?
I like Church, but I don't think he gets the UFC deal. I think he's just too young and inexperienced. I think it's going to be a good fight for him. I think he can get out a win. I don't know if he'll be able to get a finish or stoppage, but I like him in this fight.
It's amazing how these guys, they just started fighting like last year and they're already like almost in the UFC. It's insane how quick guys get in the UFC now. Back in the day, Cole, guys would have to win like 20 fights in the regional scene before they get. It's nuts. And finally, Cole, main event, Tafon Naguki. Sorry about if I pronounced the name wrong, against Al Mateevo. And now we have Naguki at minus 610, Mateevo plus 460. Tough names. Sorry, guys. Who's your pick, Cole?
This fight won't even be close. This is similar to Josh Bridges and Chad Johnson. These guys are 2 weight classes apart. Nuchugo's been a heavyweight, and he's finally making the drop down to light heavyweight. Mateevo's 5'8", and he's been primarily a middleweight. There's going to be a massive size difference. And Chugo, I know he only has 3 fights, but his last fight was massive, knocking out William Knight in the first round. Yeah. I expect him to knock out Mateevo in the first round, get a UFC deal as well.
Yeah, Naguki is like an amazing prospect, I think, at 205. I know that there was some controversy with that last fight, Cole, but to me, this guy is a really good prospect, and he's definitely getting a deal if he wins, which I do believe he wins. I think he knocks Mateevo out in the first round and gets a contract. Obviously, the odds are pretty high, but I think that that's pretty accurate, to be honest with you. I think them opening at minus 375, that was too low to open it up. All right, quickly, there's 2 other things I want to talk about, but it's got to be quick, Cole. Okay, so number 1, Bethe Correia announced her retirement. It's Yanan Wu. Are you surprised UFC's giving her one more fight in the octagon, or do you think they're kind of doing her a solid because she is kind of a veteran of the sport?
Well, it was weird. She got announced as released, and then I guess they re-signed her for one fight. I'm fine with it. Give her a retirement fight if she truly is done. It should be in the UFC. She's one of the pioneers of women's MMA in the UFC. I'm fine with her getting one more. I can't see her winning though.
Yeah, I don't like the matchup for her either. Yanan Wu doesn't have a lot of experience, not a big name, but I'm telling you right now, circle that one for potential bet because people know who she is, so the odds might actually be pretty good on her. And the last thing I want to talk about, we have like 1 minute to talk about this, Cole. Nick Diaz is going to return to the octagon, apparently. That's what his manager says. He did a test weight cut, posted a video. I mean, apparently that weight cut was from on Sunday. Who knows when that video was really taken? Who knows if Nick's really coming back? I'm not going to lie, it does get me excited. Nick is obviously a huge name in the sport, but here's the thing, Cole. He hasn't won a fight since you were in diapers, Cole. He hasn't won a fight since 2011, since he beat BJ, who I think hadn't won a fight even before that against Matt Hughes. And I was at that fight. I remember that 10 years ago. So this guy he's a pioneer. He's only 37, so he's not like even his 40s yet. But I can't see this going well for Nick Diaz in his return, Cole. I mean, people are saying, Masvidal, McGregor. Those aren't the fights he should be getting. If he's going to come back, it's got to be against a guy like Carlos Condit, Robbie Lawler, Donald Cerrone, Diego Sanchez, someone like that, Cole. I'm fine with him returning, but it's got to be a reasonable opponent. What are your thoughts on this? You got less than a minute to talk about it, Cole.
I don't like him returning at all. If you see that aerial interview, he was already like slurring his words. He didn't look good. I don't like him returning. I don't think he should return. And if he returns, I think the UFC is going to put him against this like a big name, and I think he's probably going to get knocked out. Yeah,
and we'll see. I mean, if he fights Masvidal, what a bad matchup for him would be. But he is a super durable guy. He's very tough to finish. I just hope he can pass his test. I'm not saying cannabis is a PED by any means, but we know that the commission, especially in Vegas, they highly frown upon it. So hopefully he can just chill with the smoking while he gets ready for this fight or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Cole. It depends on whose opponent it is. If it's someone ranked, probably doesn't win. But Robbie Lawler is ranked number 15. That'd be a good fight to get him back kind of in the rankings. That's it, Cole. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Great show today. Really appreciate all the comments, guys, I should say, and the compliments too. But the comments are really appreciated, guys. If anyone had any other questions about the card this weekend, message me on Twitter and I'll hit you up as well. Cole, plug your stuff. You got about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Twitter, AlcoholShell91. The show's out. Michelle Watterson, Patrick Mix, head of his title fight. Roxanne, Ferry, Allison. The stories with all them. And then I also talked to Tyson Am, Frank Camacho, Roosevelt Roberts. All that will be on my Twitter.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin, podcast, MMAOddsbreaker.com. It's on our YouTube channel, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere. It's definitely get the word out, guys. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. You guys can check me out at bjpenn.com, always there with the news. And, of course, MMARings.net as well. I actually have an article that I think will be coming out tomorrow about 5 potential opponents for Nick Diaz. And, guys, subscribe to Cole's podcast at BJ Penn Just Scrap Radio. Cole, thanks again for joining me.
It's on iTunes now as well, so.
He's on iTunes there too. All right, guys, have a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to preview Bellator. Bye.